Do you love the Songs Are Spells podcast and wish it was more than once a week? I've listened to your feedback, so why not come and join us over on our Patreon community page? Once you subscribe, you have full access to an entire back catalogue of exclusive weekly Patreon episodes and even a weekly group connect call where we all share tips on how to apply this amazing knowledge to our lives. Come and join us today on the Patreon community page. You can access it via the link in the show notes or on our Instagram bio link at Songs Are Spells Podcast, or even just send me a DM. I can't wait to meet you. We are back. Welcome to season 4 of the Songs Are Spells podcast. I am your host, Karlyn King, soon to be Dr. Karlyn King, PhD. My PhD is in UK vinyl record culture. This has taken me all over the world and specifically to spending a lot of time in America, in Nashville, which I love and want to move to. I am a freelance lecturer all over the world, podcaster, presenter, published author, and tarot reader to the rock stars. And I'm so happy to be back. Now, in 2023, more than ever, people are really waking up to the importance of consciousness, spirituality, and music. If you're new here, each week I discuss what music and magic means to major music industry guests. And this week I have legendary musician, post-punk royalty, and style icon, Brix Smith. Now, Brix takes her name from her favourite Clash song and my favourite Clash song, The Guns of Brixton. You probably know her from pioneering bands like The Fall and Adult Net. At the moment, she is out on tour with her new album, Valley of the Dolls, with a band featuring members of My Bloody Valentine, blending the perfect sonic cocktail of Californian sound, along with a raw ferocity of our dystopian times. On this episode, we discuss everything from pornography, how your psychic abilities can be labelled mental illness, keeping a growth mindset in challenging times, channeling songs through your dreams, and we even do a tarot reading. So let's dive in. One of the reasons I really wanted you on the podcast is that for me, for a long time, and after reading your book, I really feel like you embody a sense of empowerment. I just feel like your energy exudes such a strong self-belief. You just seem almost fearless, really. Would you agree?
Well, I mean, I'm really thrilled that it comes across that way. And, but I just, I'm not fearless. I'm, flawed like everybody. And, I think I have the same core fears and vulnerabilities that any person has. But when I do what I do, I am doing it from such a place of passion. And because I'm literally put on the earth to do it, and I'm lucky that I can do what I do. And I fought so hard all the way through. And there's so many times I have given up, and then I've come back at it and I couldn't get out of my system. And I think what you're feeling is the fire of passion all the way through. And the fact that I've followed my gut instinct from the very beginning. And even when it's been derailed from insecurities, from challenging things that have happened in my life that knock you off the tracks, that happen to everybody, I've found my way back onto the tracks and then just revved up my engine and kept going. And that's, I guess, what you're feeling. And I'm glad it comes across as feeling like empowerment, but I assure you that it's not that way all the time, and that I don't think it ever is for anybody.
That's so interesting. So your vulnerabilities, your insecurities, and channeling that through what you do, it seems like it's a core part of your craft.
For a long time, I felt very, very difficult and uncomfortable to show my vulnerabilities and to roll over and show my soft underbelly. And I felt like it was a sign of weakness and that, but actually I learned that in fact, it's not a sign of strength, but it's something that unites us all. And that when you can stand up and say, actually, I am vulnerable, and actually these are my weaknesses and insecurities, people relate to that in such a strong, visceral way because they're also feeling that too. So in a weird way, showing your vulnerability is being powerful, although it doesn't feel like it at the time, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. That makes total sense. And is that what you went through when you were writing your book in terms of putting yourself out there?
So the book, it was a really interesting journey for me. Like I knew from the very beginning when I first joined the Fall, when I was 19, that it was an extraordinary story to tell, being sort of like an upper middle class American Jewish girl joining a Manchester post-punk working class band in the 80s, and it was such a fish out of water story, but it was the story of someone following their absolute gut intentions. And I threw caution to the wind. In a way, I ran away and joined the circus, but I did what I felt was the right thing to do, no matter how hard it was. And it was also a love story. So let's see, when I got to writing the book, so I knew I was going to write the book for many years. It just took a really long time to get to the right place and to the right place mentally as well. And the writing of the book was incredibly cathartic in one way. In order to go back and remember everything in magnified detail, I used a technique which was basically a form of self-hypnosis.
Wow.
So I took myself literally back. It's almost like astral projection, if you will. So I took myself literally back to where I was, and I visualized the rooms where I grew up, and I smelled the smells, and that tapped into the feelings. And that's really how I did it. So for most of the book, I mean, I loved writing the book. It was such a joy. And I wrote it, every word by myself, no ghostwriter, of course. And I would write from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. pretty much every night, every day in bed on an iPad. So you have to imagine. And I wore this blue African dashiki, like this African dress, because blue is the color of the throat chakra, and that is the color of communication. So I wore the same dress every day and wrote the book for 2 years in bed. But most of the book was absolutely a joy to go back. And what it did was it opened up parts of me that were very broken inside and bruised and battered from what I'd been through in the Fall and after. And of course, there were some very painful memories that I had to go over that I had actually blocked for self-preservation, really. So going back into those memories was incredibly upsetting for a couple of the chapters, but it was also really healing because I had to acknowledge that those incidents and memories were festering inside and were causing me some kind of mental damage. So it was just writing the book was amazing. And I hoped that by writing the book, I not only could heal myself, but heal everybody else that read it, and to give them hope that they could get through anything and do it with grace and positivity and just give them a golden rope to get through. And I think to some extent, I've done that because I'm still getting letters from people saying, you helped me get through this situation, that situation. Thank you so much. And so I think I managed to accomplish that, which is an incredible feat, actually. So I'm proud.
It's a phenomenal read.
Thank you.
I just got chills when you said that you wore blue because it's the color of the throat chakra.
And what am I wearing today?
Yes.
Yeah, double denim. Yeah.
I love it. So do you identify as a witch? You are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I'm somebody, I firmly believe that I'm a psychic medium. I was born that way. I've actually trained and studied for 10 years and do every form of it. It's not something that I normally talk about because a lot of people just look at you and think they judge you straight away. But here's the thing. I don't know how the hell I know how to write songs and how I know how to write music, but I know it's coming from non-physical energy that's of one mind, of people that have passed out of their physical body and are now just energy up there. And for some reason, I've always been able to tap into it. I'm clairaudient, which means that I can hear clearly. So I get messages. And as a child, I got messages, and not just messages, like literally guided to what to do. I mean, that's why I'm sitting here today. It's like, I take the guidance. But my parents, of course, thought that perhaps I was very mentally ill. When I would see a little girl in my bedroom every night, I go, the girl is pounding on my walls. My mother was like, okay, to the psychiatrist with you. So I was, was in therapy from a really young age, but the psychiatrist was like, I had a whole series of them, but they were, most of them were pretty cool. They were like, she's just incredibly intuitive and creative. She's not actually crazy and not self-destructive, this or that or the other thing. So pretty much eventually my mom came round to maybe the fact that I could see things in a different way than she could and accepted it. So we stopped having to be dragged to the shrink.
That is so interesting that people think it's like mental illness. Yeah.
Of course, you tell them you hear something. It's like, no, I was just told not to do that or whatever. It was not quite that clear. But there were certain things like it got certain guidance. I could go into it. It's really interesting to talk about. And I think a lot of people have it and they don't talk about it. So, if I would say, well, that cat. So here's the thing. It started with animals where I could hear what animals thought and felt. I had empathy with the animals, so I could feel what they felt and sort of hear what they thought, and they could think. And it was mostly with cats and horses and to some extent dogs when I was young. And so, of course, when you say that, well, the animal doesn't want to do this or whatever, or it's not comfortable or whatever, your parents are like, are you schizophrenic?
Wow.
But no, I most certainly am not. I am healthy. I'm mentally unhealthy, which is healthy. Yeah. Yeah. With my mind, which is where we want to be. If you're in your mind, you're fucked up. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've always been a free spirit, really free. Yeah. And I just encourage everybody else to be free and to be in touch with their inner child and their joy, and no matter what age you are, to still have fun with whatever you do and stop for a minute and look down at the pavement and see that there's glittering sparkles embedded in the cement below you. Do you know what I mean? Life can be so beautiful when you look at it in different ways.
This is what I try to do on a daily basis. So do you have daily practices or rituals? Like, for example, I do daily gratitude.
So yeah, absolutely. I would say, so many. Let's see. So pretty much every single day, I wake up and I'm grateful for absolutely everything that I have, and the gifts that I've been given, and the fact that I'm doing a job that's not a job because it's my passion. I feel so lucky. Even the really difficult things that have happened to me, in hindsight, you see why they were important and how you grew from them. So I would urge everyone listening, when something really bad happens to you, just take a step back and just wait, because everything passes and everything flows. And later on, when you're out of the turbulence of the wave of it, you can look back and see on that journey why that had to happen and how you actually grew from it. So nothing is a mistake and nothing is ever wrong. There is no such thing as a problem. Well, you do have a problem, but a problem is good because then you can find a solution, and that's even better. So when you have a problem, you can fix whatever isn't working. So I try and look at everything really positive. So that's one thing. It's a complete positive mindset. I can't honestly say that I have a complete positive mindset every single minute of my life. I go up and down just like everybody else. And you do have dark periods. I have dark periods. But then again, I know that it's like a tunnel. You go in, don't be scared. You're in this period. It doesn't feel good, but pretty soon you'll see the light and you'll come out. So don't panic, freak out, or end it. Do you know what I mean? You'll be okay and you'll come out stronger.
I love that. Have you got that tattooed on your arm?
I have many tattoos. So I have 1111, which is my absolute power number, which means perfect alignment. And I have that on my left arm in black and on my right wrist in white, which might be really hard to see, but it's there. And then I have this too shall pass, which is exactly what you're talking about, which is the first tattoo I got when I was 50 because my dead grandmother kept saying it to me while she was dead. going, and I go, okay, grandma, I'm going to get a tattoo. She said that when I was alive. So, I mean, when she was alive, sorry, because when she was alive, I would go to her and I go, oh, this boy broke up with me, or this terrible thing happened. And she'd go, Dolly, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And then after she died, some really shitty stuff happened to me. And I was really upset. And all of a sudden I heard her voice in my head going, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. So then I just thought, you know what? I'm going to get it on my arm so I don't forget it and don't freak out when it goes dark, and it's just, you can't have night without day, and you can't have peaks without valleys. And you don't know the pleasure and the joy of bliss unless you've known the hardship of pain. So
Yeah.
so then other rituals are this. I am very sensitive to energy, so sensitive to energy. Any kind of vibration, obviously sound, color, all that stuff. I've got synesthesia. So every single color that I see makes a sound.
Okay.
And sometimes it goes the other way. Every sound I hear, I can make it be colors. But mostly it's when I look at a color, it doesn't matter. And I feel people's energy like viscerally. So if somebody's off kilter or struggling or whatever, I just know instantly. Or if they've got negative energy, I just don't want to be around it anymore.
Mhm.
So what I do is I make sure that I'm really clean in terms of energetically. So my practices are this. I would cut my cords pretty much every day, any cords of negativity that attach to my body, and send them away with love, and then ask that I be put in a kind of bubble of protection. I burn Palo Santo a lot. I burn it in my house. I wave it over my body, my dog, every room. If in case I've had a bad conversation or a heavy conversation or something, I do it. I take it when I work. I take it to every club I play in, every venue, because some of those venues are soaked in like drug addiction and alcoholism and people like venting their pain. And it's got years and years and years and years of darkness built up in some of those venues on the walls. Like I can almost feel it coming off like mud, So quite a lot of them are so dark that I clean the stage and everything before, and the dressing room and all that. What else do I do? So I have a pendulum, which I use and ask it questions when I'm feeling, and then it's mostly like going like, does the dog need to go to the vet? Do I need to get antibiotics? I mean, and I don't, and sometimes I go, oh no, it's lying, and I'm like, I'm just going to go anyway to that. But so I do that, and it's mostly the cleansing and the gratitude. There's certain things I do before I go on stage. I do TM meditation, but I also have a hypnotherapy tape that was made specifically for me before I go on stage, which this may be one of the things that you feel if you've seen me live, because I listen to it right before I go on stage and I listen to it during the day, and it empowers me. It literally lights a fire inside me, and it takes any nerves I might be feeling and it transfers them into like energy and power. And it just leaves just enough nerves to go to, because you need a little nerve to get up on stage.
Yeah.
But I go there with like a laser point focus when I get on stage, and I'm actually not really in my body. I'm channeling the whole time anyway. So if you were to see me after a show, it would be like about 2 hours before I'd be like back in my body.
A lot of artists talk about like decompressing, but for you, it must be like times a million.
Sometimes people that I actually know, I don't even recognize after a show.
Wow.
It's embarrassing actually. And I have to say, I'm not really in my body. And they look at me like, are you nuts? But I don't really care. People can think I'm nuts. They can believe me or not believe me, but it's just it's my comprehension of my life really. And yeah, I'm kind of done being judged. I mean, you can't stop people from judging you, and I can't control what they think, but I'm tired of not speaking the truth. So I'm going to speak it, especially to you, because you're asking all the right questions.
Yeah.
You're obviously like-minded, and you're obviously talking from a place of understanding. And I do believe that it is now the time of the divine feminine. And I do believe that I'm one of the women that is in my age group that is leading women like you through it, and to be there and to take you by the hand and to pull you up and say, you are wonderful, you are fabulous, and it's our time now.
Oh my God, I've got actual chills. Oh my God.
Good. Then you get it. Yeah.
Well, and that's really what you've done on this album as well, isn't it? On Valley of the Dolls, is you were like, no, yeah, I'm going to speak my truth. I read that you said that you felt that it was the best thing you've ever done. Is that right?
For sure. For sure. It's the best thing I've ever done. And the reason I say that is because this is the album. This is the sound. These are the songs that I wanted to write before I joined the Fall. I mean, they're not the same songs because I've gone through life and everything. But in my mind, this is what I knew I was capable of and what I wanted to do before the Fall even existed in my life. So I had a massive detour. And I followed a million different roads until I got there. And finally, at the age of 60, I got there. So there is no age limit. The other thing I really want to do is to smash ageism. Because as long as you're like fit and healthy and love what you're doing, there's no reason why you can't keep doing it, you know. And when I was younger, there were not that many women that were players, you know, real players and writers. There were a handful of great ones before me, but there weren't that many, certainly not at this age, that were going out and really killing it. Like they'd been softened and kicked to the curb by then, you know, all of a sudden it's like, you know, everything just goes easy listening. So I was like, just determined not to lose my spark. And I think maybe because I've had to fight so hard all the way through this and I've always been underestimated, it's not like I had a lot to prove, but it's like I didn't have anything left to prove. Do you know what I mean? It's like, fuck you all. Here I come and like it or lump it. This is it, you know, and now I've done it and I'm going to be happy whether you like it or not. And so I just said, let the chips fall where they may. And luckily everyone loves it. So it's all good.
Yeah, it's an incredible record. I love it so much. And why did you call it Valley of the Dolls? Is that like a reference to like the book film? It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's basically, so the song is really about, I mean, the whole album is pretty much autobiographical of my life. And it's really a journey from kind of, you know, anyway, like it's very much set in dystopian California. So it's a California that I grew up in the 60s and 70s. That was this land of beautiful, like fabulous, cool people and glittering oceans and blue sky and orange jasmine blossoms like by the day and open top cars and, you know, everything is glamorous. But then as I grew older, I began to see that actually it wasn't that. It was a place where people went to find their dreams and to become famous, but ended up mostly broken in a heap and trashed. And it's a place of broken dreams and horrible, you know, kind of like huge cultural division in wealth, a city that's on an actual fault line. And it's actually really quite a dark place, very, very dark. And so there's always been a darkness in Hollywood as well, which has been fascinating. So, I mean, Valley of the Dolls, first of all, I wasn't actually referring to the movie in the book. I was actually referring to a different movie, a cult movie called Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is a Russ Meyer film. And in it featured, it was, I think 1970, maybe the movie. I can't remember. I have to look it up. It featured an all-woman rock group called the Carrie Nations, who were so cool. And they played their instruments in like ball gowns. And they were like, it was very much styled like Valley of the Dolls in that kind of like amazing sort of Sharon Tate, you know, fabulousness. But it was a very different movie about rock and roll. And it inspired me so much. I was like, I want to have an all-girl band. I want to do that. I want to play the guitar like that and look like that and be like that. And it wasn't just me. The Bangles were totally inspired by it too.
Yeah.
And in fact, we used to use fake names when we check into hotels. They had to do it more than me. They were more famous. And so like we would take names from the movie and like use those as fake names when we check into a hotel so no one could find out what room we were in. But it was a movie loosely based also on the life of Phil Spector. So there's a character in it that's basically was supposed to be Phil Spector. loosely. It's just a crazy psychedelic movie. So Beyond the Valley of the Dolls was really where it came from, but also a little bit from the movie and the book too. It's that whole genre of LA, you know.
Yeah, because that's where you were born, right? Is it LA?
Right. Right. Yeah. I grew up there till I was about 9. And then my mother moved to Chicago. And then I lived between Chicago and LA pretty much the rest of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so great because you delve into like fakery and desperation and even like pornography at one point as well.
Yeah. There's a lot about pornography in the album. In fact, it's a bit controversial, like Valley Girl. So the song Valley Girl, basically I grew up in Santa Monica Canyon is where I grew up. And so I'm a canyon girl, which is like just above the beach. So I was a beach girl and that was my stomping ground. But the valley is on the other side of LA. And the valley, we didn't like valley girls. Like there was a whole rivalry between like beach and canyon kids and valley kids. And so valley girl was kind of a bit of a bad word. Like, oh my God, she's a valley girl. They talk differently. They speak differently too.
Yeah.
And so, but later on, as I grew up, the valley became the epicenter of the porn industry.
Mm.
And there were a lot of women that came to LA to be actresses. And I actually went to acting school, and a lot of women ended up not getting acting roles and had to make a living in the porn industry, which you could make a good living. And if you're forced into it, that's bad. But if you choose to do it and that's your choice and you feel empowered by it, then that's your choice. So although, you know, there's good and bad about every industry. And so Valley Girl is really kind of a bit about that, you know, it's about the porn industry, but it's about taking back your power, you know?
In one sense, it's an industry where women can make way more money than men, but putting themselves obviously in a very dangerous, potentially situation and risky.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, but when you're forced to do anything and you do it and it's against your will, or it's something that you're doing because you're desperate, that is really awful, and you're exploited. That is not okay. But if it's something, there are women that I know that were porn stars that absolutely loved what they did. They were like exhibitionists anyway. This was whether something was broken in them or not, that's not for me to say, but they were doing what they really enjoyed. And that's okay, you know? So it's just kind of a snapshot. Like, I'm not making any judgments about anything really.
Yeah.
It's just different ways of looking at the world, you know? And California Smile, again, that song, that's what you said about the fakery. That's about the superficiality. And when you go there, you see people and they've got perfect teeth, perfect smile. Everything looks perfect on the outside, but inside they're just dying and they're have to doing things that they're not comfortable with. Yeah. And I'm talking about myself, like, look at me. I've played them all. The wife, the whore, the maid, the doll. I've done it all. There's so many times I've had to actually whore myself, not actually whore myself, but to do things because I needed to get ahead or needed to do something that made me feel bad about myself in terms of work. And I'm a real grafter and a fighter. And if I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't have done it. But sometimes you'll just have to grit your teeth and do it. You know, certainly it's been hard coming up as a woman. And I always say, if you look at my hands, you'll see all the scars from punching the glass ceiling and still punching. Yeah. So there's been times I've had to do whatever I need to, whatever I needed to do to, whatever it takes. But I mean, Steve Jobs said that too. He said, whatever it takes, he would do it, and that's just grim determination.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you Spellcast, your weekly astrological guide. And we have just had a beautiful full moon in Capricorn. So remember, full moons are all about releasing what no longer serves you. So as we're at the halfway point in the year, what do you want to leave behind for your highest good in moving forward into the rest of 2023? What is no longer serving you? Write it down, rip it up, put it in the bin, burn it safely, whatever it is you need to do, journal it out and get it out, because let's not take any bad juju forward with us into the rest of this beautiful year. And as always, follow your intuition. Now, back to my chat with Brix. You've talked before about channeling when you're songwriting and performing, and
Yeah.
a few artists have talked about this. I remember apparently Daniel Johns from Silverchair used to do that while he was asleep, and he was married to Natalie Imbruglia. And she said that he would be like communicating in a different language, and then he would wake up and have these songs ready to go. Have you experienced that?
Yes.
Wow.
So yes, and I in my college with Lisa, who was I was in the first band with. It's like a long story, but she's married to Klaus Kastenskild, who did all the fall covers. Like we all went to school together. We were all in a band together. And Lisa said she used to wake up. We shared a dorm room, and she would wake up, and I would be speaking in a different language.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was German, actually. It's weird. So, there's loads of past life stuff. So let me just explain something about the sleeping and when messages come through.
Okay.
First of all, the best way to channel and the easiest way to channel is to really eliminate all blockages in you. So no fear. Like you need to get to a high emotional set point. So you need to be in a place of like contentment, happiness, relaxation. You can't have fear. You can't have guilt. You can't have depression. You can't have anger. All those stuff block it. So the time when most people are out of resistance and in allowance is when they're asleep, because they're not having these thoughts going like, you're not good enough, this, that, the other thing, whatever. They're asleep. So their mind is like clear and open. And that is when your guides or whoever it is can start to, channel stuff into you, because you're able to receive. Now, I've trained myself for the most part to be able to receive all the time. So, I mean, sometimes if I'm like when there's a whole thing when my dad died and I freaked out for 3 days and I was like in bits and I was freaking out. And then somebody said to me, a psychic girl in America, and I called her up and went, he's dead. She was like, Brix, you've trained for this your whole life. You can now communicate with him in a different way. And the thing is, before he died, when he was ill, I said to him, Marvin, that was his name. I was like, Marvin, after you die, because we're all going to die, but when you die, can you come back and communicate with me? I'll be able to hear you. And he was a professor of political science. So he's like, really academic and not at all spiritual in that way. And he said, look, I don't really believe in that, but if I can, I will, and I'll try. I'm like, great. I said, Grandma does it all the time, And so anyway, he died and I was in horrendous grief and I was freaking out. And I said to my friend, called my friend Robin on FaceTime, and she said, Brix, you can communicate with him in a different way. And then she leaned in like this and she goes, you know what to do. And I went like that, because Marvin's voicemail for the last 15 years was, you know what to do.
No way.
Yeah. So he spoke through her to get to me because I couldn't hear it because I was in grief. And then I knew he was there. So once that happened, I calmed down because I knew he was there. He was speaking through her. And so then I sat down and got myself in a really great state. And I began to take notes from him. I'd ask him questions. What happened when you died? Who was there? What does it look like? Where did you go? What did it feel like? Where did they take you? What happened? And I got all these answers. And one day I'm going to put it in a book. Every single thing that he said, all the answers to all my questions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It's incredible, because I'm very much clairsentient. I can definitely read energy, but I feel like there must be other parts of me, and I'm just how to unlock those,
So there's 4 clairs: clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant, and clairvoyant.
Yeah.
And we all have all of them in us, but they're like muscles that you need to work and learn how to use and to trust. And a lot of people don't trust. They're like, why isn't it happening? When's it going to happen? When you just have to trust, you have to learn. And, some people will be more, certain clairs will be easier for people to access. So for me, it's clairaudience, the hearing is really easy all the time. And clairvoyant, the seeing, is not so easy for me. It's like a flitting thing, it's nothing. Or the seeing the energy, like clairsentient, like that is really easy as well, because you can actually feel the energy. And if you're at all intuitive, it's quite, but claircognizant is the knowing, just knowing it feels right. That's like gut instinct. So we all have that. Every single person is capable of being psychic and is psychic. It's just a matter of opening up, relaxing, allowing, and trusting, and not having any fear to block you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that requires a lot of, self-development, self-awareness. And do you think maybe a lot of people are not willing to go there? They're like, nah, let's just stick my head in the sand.
I think there are people that don't want to feel, I think there are a lot of people that are at the moment, I can feel a real division in humanity. Okay. So there's a bunch of us, I'm not talking about woke people. I'm talking about, there's a bunch of us that are awake, let's say, that are tuned in, that understand that there's more things going on than just the basic layer of stuff. And that there has to be, and there is. And you get coincidences every day. People will get signs every day. There will be people listening to this that will say, I see my relative as a bird. I see a robin every day. It's my mom. I see butterflies. I know it's, my dad or whatever, or other things, white feathers, whatever it is, whatever the signs are, you will get them sent, all that stuff. Don't ignore them. When coincidences happen, when you think something and then it happens, you're on the right, vibration, and you're tuned in. Yeah. But there are people that are fully asleep, and that have no, that there's no way that you can explain any of this to them. And they just think you're nuts anyway. Yeah. And they're just not ready, because they may have so much pain and brokenness inside them from this life that they are not able to take a look internally and to allow that, to understand their vulnerabilities, to allow it, or whatever, or they're just, this isn't their time right now. So I do feel this massive division in our society. You know what I'm talking about. And Absolutely. Everybody that's on our wavelength will be like, yep. And you will have lost friends that are not there yet. People, certainly COVID was a real shedder for that. There'll be a lot of people that have fallen to the wayside friendship wise, or people that you don't feel good being around, or they say negative things and live in a dark place and you can't get through to them. You have to let them go, because it's important for us here, for you and me and all the women and all the people that are on our wavelength, to come together, rise up, and to make the planet a better place in every way. Well, we're still here to do it. And the ones that come after, we can't worry about the ones that are laying low. I see them, when I close my eyes and envision them, I see them as cockroaches, where we're winged creatures. We're above it on a different level, on a different vibration. But I see them as like scuttling bugs on the ground. Yes.
And I guess it's just saying that's okay. That's their journey and we are on ours. And it's all.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's all fine. We just have to understand that, and we can't get frustrated with them. We just move away from them and let them go on their journey.
Yeah.
You don't crush them or anything. It's fine. It's not even our thing. We can't even get involved, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just look after ourselves and everyone that's with us. Yeah.
It's kind of almost led me to spend quite a lot of time by myself as well. But I'm like really happy with that, because for the reasons you've just said, is that sometimes people just don't get it. They think you're crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think spending time on your own is incredibly healthy. I mean, not in the extreme version, not if you're lonely, but I think having quiet time to yourself is really reinvigorating for you. It's like letting a field lay fallow. If you're always around people chatting all the time, you can't hear clearly and you can't tap into what you need to. I mean, I know people that are addicted to drama, that are constantly have a crisis in their life every minute of the day. It's their kid, it's their husband, it's their this, it's their that, it's their, their auntie or whatever, their job, and this, and something's always wrong. And that is a way to distract yourself from stuff inside you that you need to work on. Because if you're always worried about other people's problems and dramas, you don't have to take a look at what's inside. And I think it's very important to have quiet time and just to be honest with yourself. or to do nothing. Or, I mean, I have duvet days all the time.
Yeah.
Like if I have a day off, I like spend the whole day in bed and I chill and I do whatever I want. I listen to podcasts, I read, I watch Netflix, I cuddle my dog, I walk around, I eat carbohydrate, whatever it is I want to do. And I love those days, and I don't feel guilty for not being productive because actually you're recharging your batteries in whatever way you need to.
Yeah.
And I also say no to going out all the time now. I don't want to go out really. I'll only go out if it's like really, really good friends and or a really important function, but I'm not going to bullshit anymore.
So you are the president at the F list.
I was the president for a year, and it's now somebody else has taken over this year. And now I've gone on to join the board of directors on FAC, Feature Artists Coalition. Yeah. So I'm on the board of directors for that. I was voted onto it. So that's great because that's what musicians working with the government to change policy, to make it better for us and to like deal with the streaming issues and all of the governmental shit that's going on in the music industry. So if I can help make a change with that, with my voice or in any way, that's what I'm going to do.
That is fantastic. Yeah, because when you were doing the F list, I love Vic Bain. I love her research.
Yeah.
It's just so important. And I just love, and I read that on the website, what you said about repeatedly punching the glass ceiling. And I just think that's going to resonate so hard.
I always say that. Yeah, I always say that. I mean, there's a fabulous musician called Rhoda Dakar who's like started she is the first all-female ska band. And I met her last week at an award show and she was so incredible. And we were talking about that. And I said, oh my God, I've only got one fist scarred. You've got both because you're Black and you're a woman. She goes, no, we both got both fists, Brix.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. She was incredible. She was so interesting to talk to. Yeah. So yeah, I did punch the ceiling and I still am.
Love it.
And I kicked it.
And kicked it, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I headbutted it.
I've just had 2 cards fall out. I'm assuming they're for you. So we've got 7 of Wands and 2 of Pentacles.
Yeah. What are you feeling?
Yeah. So fighting off haters or disbelievers or bullshitters. Yeah. Standing your ground, which is exactly what you've just been talking about. And this one is like abundance of opportunities.
So the first one is what exactly I was talking about. It's the swords, it's the glass ceiling, it's the punching, it's the fighting, it's literally. And then the next one is what you don't know, but I know what that is. So the guy is holding 2 pentacles like this, but when you turn it like this, it's the number 8. I'm going to show you this. So, right, I don't have every one of them here, but I'm going to show you. So I've just started working with a brand new social media app called We Are 8.
Oh my God.
So this is an app which is going to change the world, which will give back to people on the planet, on which there's no algorithms, and it's been set up by a woman, a CEO who's a serial tech entrepreneur. It's her 4th company. She was like, social media is broken and I want to do good for society instead of bad. So I'm working with them. Basically, it's a long story of how for me to explain, but it's launched already, but it's launching more. And I'm one of the faces of it, along with Rio Ferdinand and Sanjeev Bhaskar. You'll be hearing a lot more about it.
God.
But basically, when you go on the app, you can choose to watch a commercial, which is 2 minutes or less. And you choose, and if you choose, you get paid to watch it. They put money into your wallet on the app. A little bit of money gets donated to a cause because all the commercials are B Corp. Like BMW, for instance, is making the most wonderful electric car that works with Wildlife Society for the birds to make the forest a more quiet place and a happier environment for birds. And then you answer like 2 questions and then you get paid like a micro payment, but you accumulate money. A little money immediately goes to like the Wildlife Foundation. Then the rest of the money goes into your wallet and you accumulate it and you can choose to pay it forward to any charity you want. You can use it to pay your PayPal if you have bills, to pay your EE phone bill, to pay your Discovery, Paramount Plus, Netflix, whatever, because they're all jumping on board this. And then another portion of it goes to, this is where I come in, a creator fund.
Wow.
So there's 2 feeds on We Are 8. One is the 8 stage for creators, verified creators. There are no users. It's for creative people to post influential, inspirational stuff. This is a 0 hate policy on this app. So I'm in charge of the creators in Britain. So what happens is artists or teachers or architects or whoever it is says, or dancers or, whatever, like write in and say, here's our work. We need some money to finish this. And I'll say, well, let's get £1,000 out of the creator fund. Let's keep art going. Yeah. So anyway, that's what that card's about, because that card is about huge opportunities for me and giving back, and Pentacles is money. Yeah. So it's that. Yeah. And it's yellow, which is the inside the 8 is the significant color of the app is yellow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you were spot on with that.
That's great.
Well, everyone should download it and start using it. I mean, there's still a few bugs. It's very new, but it really is going to change the world. And there are so many amazing companies coming on board with it that are willing to, put their money where their mouth is and be much more ethical about everything, which we really have to start doing immediately. Yeah. Come to the shows, I promise you'll feel better coming out than you went in, than you felt going in. It's a really special band. I've got Deb Gurge and Jen Macro who are in My Bloody Valentine, and I've got a new drummer called Lisa Lux. And so she's just starting with us. We're down to a 4-piece. We used to be a 5-piece. So that it's a really good lineup, and it's all women and just super fun. Like the energy of the band is amazing, and it just feels good. It's a happy place to be, and the songs are so great, and the vibrations are so powerful that if you feel such things, come and let us vibrate through you. Amazing. You'll go home floating on air. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I can't wait. That's so great. It's been truly life affirming to speak to you.
I just want to say thank you so much for doing podcasts like this, for bringing attention to this stratosphere. It's very brave, and there are so many people that it's going to resonate with. And I'm just, thank God there are women like you that are speaking their truth and speaking up and doing it with love and kindness and camaraderie and passion. So I just want to thank you for that, because it makes me feel not alone, but so connected. And it makes me feel like I know I'm doing the right thing here. And it's validation for me having someone like you.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. That is so beautiful. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I am completely in awe of Brix and the journey that she's been on, the ceilings that she smashes and continues to smash. And if you're still wondering how the hell has she done all this, it's pretty obvious. It's all about her mindset, not being scared, going forward and doing it anyway, and knowing that whatever happens is going to be for your growth and your highest good. So if you want to learn more about this, come and join us over on the Patreon community, where we specifically talk about these lessons every week. You'll find the link in the show notes or on our Instagram bio at Songs Are Spells Podcast. Come and join us and live your best life. This podcast has been produced and presented by me, Karlyn King. Come and find me on Instagram at Karlyn L. King, at Songs Are Spells Podcast, and on TikTok at Songs Are Spells. And I'll see you next week.